Yo, welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of mushrooms and the people who love them. From expert cultivators to passionate foragers, we bring you deep conversations, cutting-edge insights, and everything mycology. Whether you're a seasoned mycophile or just curious, we invite you to geek out with us on the wonders of fungi and join the mushroom movement. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, the podcast that goes deep so you can level up your at-home mushroom cultivation game. I'm your host, MycoGeeky, and it's holiday season. I got family in town, so it's time for a reboot. We're going to revisit the very first time I had Philly Golden Teacher on the show. Now, keep in mind, PGT just got his Instagram taken down. It is rough times in these mean Myco streets, and in going through and kind of cleaning up this the audio and the video, man, there's some good stuff in here. This is a good one. So anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy the first time MycoGeeky ever sat down and got to know Philly Golden Teacher. What's up, man?
Thank you so much, MycoGeeky.
No problem, dude. I just gotta say, I have been geeking out all day. I had a stressful day, but you definitely were just in the back of my mind, like, yes, tonight is going to be good. It's going to be fun. So I'm very excited.
Yes, likewise. I'm totally excited for this.
Great. So now when we got to talking about doing this, I really said, the thing that I'm noticing on the podcast that seems to be, maybe I didn't have it as an agenda. The agenda in the beginning was definitely teach us all your secrets, right? But what I'm finding, a lot of people are really appreciating getting to know people, people that maybe they're DMing with, or they are, making a little message on your Instagram or wherever they're trying to interact with you. But this format really seems to help people be like, oh, I like this guy. So that's really my goal tonight is to have everybody understand you a little bit better, know a little bit more about you, and understand your journey that you've gone on as just hands down the mushroom content creator on YouTube that is, at least in the actives community, you set the bar for sure.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, here's what I want to do. Let's start off. I like to ask everybody what was that seminal moment, whether it was as a very young child or teenager or with other guests. It was much later in life, but what was that first moment in your life where you were like, oh, mushrooms are kind of cool. I think I'm gonna pay attention to them a little bit.
Wasn't too long ago, actually.
Okay.
I would say it started around 2017.
All right, 2017, 5 years ago.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
And what talk to me about what it was. Did you, were you hiking in the woods and you saw a giant flush of chicken in the woods? Did you talk to us about what was going on that triggered that connection?
The connections with me to the mushrooms.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, around 2017, I was just personally looking into the mushrooms, because I was kind of in a position in life where I was kind of dealing with a lot of mental health issues and just kind of looking into different remedies to kind of take care of this. So it's kind of where I kind of stumbled into mushrooms that kind of got me like really kind of like interested in this.
Cool. That's what, for actives, that's the same story for me. I read an article. I was like, wow, people are using this for what? Kept reading. Yeah. So that's very cool. Could you, so you went from the interest to, how did you go into saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to grow mushrooms to try to medicate myself, see what this might be able to do for me?
Yeah, I mean, I just love mushrooms in general. Growing up, I love the taste of mushrooms. My mom cooks mushrooms all the time, so I love them. But what kind of got me into it is just because I was just trying to seek out the mental health aspect of that.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, I looked into it. I mean, it's there's a lot of information out there that will, you know, give you the knowledge to be able to kind of get going.
Yep.
And yeah, it wasn't that hard if you did a little bit of research to get into it.
So now you have, and later on we're going to go through sort of a visual history here, but let's just start on the more personal, emotional level. I would love to hear the first time that you ever used it as medicine, how you felt it, affected you, didn't affect you. I have a sneaking suspicion you liked it and it did something positive for you.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I've tried mushrooms when I was a lot younger, back in the college phase, um, and I didn't have a good experience at that time, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit, and I kind of stayed away from
Okay.
mushrooms for a while. Um, and it just wasn't only until recently that I started kind of looking into it because of the potential benefits that it might have.
Now, so I don't know about you. My first experiences when I was younger was very much we happened to get a pathetic looking bag of mushrooms. And by the time we divided amongst, the 3 to 5 people we were hanging out with that night, I don't think that as a younger person, I ever really had a legitimate dose. I think I had probably what was closer to a museum dose. It was enough to, augment what was going on that evening, make things funny, maybe just very subtle visuals or whatnot. But it really wasn't until I did the same thing that you did, which was going, okay, this might be something that helped me out with my ADHD and other stuff I was dealing with. And it just there for me there was no comparison. I just felt that as a youth, I never. I didn't have the setting right. I wasn't using it for the therapeutic benefits and all that. So you said that when you were young, you had a bad experience. Do you mind talking about that experience? Like, was it too
No.
much? Was it just not good? Were you not in a good place?
I guess it was just kind of it came on as a whim, I
Okay.
just wasn't I was kind of peer pressured into it. It was just my college roommates, and it was during the middle of summer. We were on summer break during college, so at the apartment, hanging out, and one of my roommates had, uh, gotten some from his buddy up in New York, and so we decided to take him. We put him on um, burgers
Mm-hmm.
and just ate him down. And yeah, just kind of experienced it. Probably wasn't that big of a dose. It was just our first time trying it. We're all new to it at that time as well.
Right.
The other guys had a good time. However, they had great time. They went downstairs down to the pool. I went down with them, and they started kind of acting all loopy down by the pool, and then people started staring, and then I got paranoid.
Ah,
Um, so when I got paranoid, people, I'm thinking like, do people know, that we're tripping? And it
right.
just sent me down a bad spiral. And then from there, I went back upstairs. As I was going back upstairs in the elevator, I remember for some reason having thoughts of like, uh, thinking about why am I doing this, and kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of, I find like a kind of like wasting time at that moment or something like that.
Okay.
But I just wasn't in a good headspace at all. And as I kept thinking and thinking and ruminating as I was walking back up the elevator, I left my roommates to go back up to the place. I was just like in my head the whole entire time, and being on there, your perception of time is kind of different when you're kind of like spiraling
Right.
down. I had like thoughts of suicide and stuff, and like I've never had that before in my entire life, and it freaked me out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to handle it. So when I went back upstairs, I kind of like went to the bathroom. I'm freaking out. I'm kind of like crying in there. I'm like, Anyways, my roommates came back up later on, and they kind of calmed me down, and everything was, all right. I kind of just didn't, I had a good time and then I had a bad time, and it's kind of like that.
Right.
That was it. I kind of don't want to really mess with it anymore. But yeah, that was just the first time.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, later on in life, when I kind of looked into it for, what I intended to, it's been extremely beneficial, and it's helped me out so much. And I was so grateful for what it's done to my life that I wanted to give back. Uh,
Right.
so that's why I decided to create my content and teach everybody about it, because I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Now, so I prefaced the show here with the day you had your story post, and it just screamed somebody just had a really phenomenal trip and reconnected with everything important in life, and it just was so obvious, and I just thought it was so wonderful to see. So yeah, I think it's really great that you're coming from that place to um go, well, yeah, this is great, other people should give this a go. This might, if you're struggling, if things aren't working out, if you never know, that trip might help figure some stuff out for you. It's I'm really deeply feel the same way, that it's important, and that's part of what this podcast is all about as well. It's just getting more people on here to share their enthusiasm for all this. So I appreciate that. Okay, next question. Um, we talked a little bit ourselves about some family history that you probably came to the table with this with trips and things like that, probably a little bit more skeptical or apprehensive. And hearing you tell the story about your poolside trip and how you immediately got introspective and dark and all that, do you mind sharing a little bit about some of your family history and how that might have shaped that early experience?
Okay. Um. Okay. So growing up, kind of interesting. I was the youngest of eight,
Eight.
and
You said eight? Eight
yes,
kids, right? People,
yes,
humans.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a big family.
Yeah. No, I came into this world kind of like as an accident.
Hmm. And you
So
said you were the last child.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My older brother is he's have history with schizophrenia, bipolar depression,
Okay.
and yeah, it kind of didn't work out well for him. But he's 10 years older than me, and me being the youngest, crazy as my mom had me when she was 46. Uh,
Wow. That's impressive. I
um,
mean, you say accident, I say, I don't know. That seems like everything was meant to be there. You were definitely they they might not have planned you, but it seemed like the universe definitely did.
okay. So yeah, kind of make the long story short a little bit. I kind of I was born and raised in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
So that's kind of why the name kind of goes around that. But I kind of lived down there. Kind of in the hoods, kind of. And we're kind of like
Right.
immigrants, come over here, trying to like figure things out and whatnot.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's kind of like we kind of like just lived at poverty. We were receiving welfare, just kind of trying to get by as what we can in Philly. I mean, a lot of people that live in Philly don't really like, you know, uh, don't have a lot of money. So that's how we were anyway at that time, back in the old days. Um,
Do what you got to do to survive.
yeah.
I,
Um,
I hear you. I didn't grow up in a city. I was
I
in a
had a lot
small
of
town.
traumatic issues that kind of happened to me as I was kind of growing up in Philly, so it kind of
Okay.
shaped me to have a little bit of like a darker
Right.
view or aspect to the world because of what I've experienced in terms of like trauma coming up as a child.
In addition to also, I mean, even if your brother wasn't schizophrenic, even if you didn't live in a bad part of Philadelphia, you still are one of 8 children, which is a struggle and challenge in and of itself. So I can only imagine. I had one sister, so I cannot imagine. That's a lot of kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you grew up witnessing and understanding the serious challenge that it is to have a family member with schizophrenia, and in his case, also bipolar disorder. Um, what was that like? Like what,
Um,
how difficult was that? I know that what that looks like can really vary.
yeah, so he was kind of like hanging out with the wrong crowd during school, and he kind of brought a little bit of trouble onto the family. He
Yeah.
got himself into drug addiction, and I think perhaps that might have induced the schizophrenia. But he would have episodes sometimes when we're at home growing up, and it kind of freaked me out because they happened randomly.
Yeah.
And yeah, one time he tried to walk from Philly all the way down to North Carolina. Like the police picked him up on the
Wow.
highway, and my mom got a call, and yeah, we had to go get him. And another time he tried to commit suicide. Um, so it's just kind of like scary when he has
And you're
these
young,
episodes.
right? When this is happening, you're still pretty young.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, correct. And yeah, one of his episodes, he tried to kill me. Uh, so that was very traumatic.
Wow. Now, so was he paranoid? Like, did he have delusional thought processes that
Yes, he
triggered
thought
that?
people were
Yeah.
living in. He thought like there were spirits living in our basements, and there was
Right.
like this guy guarding a child or something like that. Like he would be hearing voices, and
Right.
he tells us about this, but like we don't hear it, and
Of
he
course.
he
Yeah.
just kind of thinks we're crazy, and yeah, it was kind of a challenging living at home with him.
Right. So you had this background. Now, see, you when you were talking about this the other day, I was thinking, so and I deal with, I've taken care of these types of patients in my day job. And so I know what it looks like, and it can especially be very scary. And I'm thinking, so here's young PGT on his first trip, and his perceptions are beginning to be altered, and I can't imagine that history, that family history with your brother, did not inform that first experience to some degree. I mean,
It does. It
I would have
does.
been in my head, dude, just like,
Yeah, well, the thing
oh.
is, I my parents kind of have high expectations for me to do well.
Hmm.
So by me, taking drugs in the middle of summer, I
Right,
felt in a way like I was not being a good child. Like, why am I
right,
spending my time doing this when I should be trying to like maybe get a summer job or like doing something a little bit more productive?
right.
So that's kind of where that tone kind of got into there.
Gotcha. So you have that early trip sort of paints a bad picture. Then later in life, you're struggling with some stuff, and like me, you read an article or somehow you get exposed to the idea that this medicine might do you some good, and you just went for it. Now this is 5 years ago, so I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there would have been almost no content on YouTube. You probably were on the shroomery. Walk me through sort of how you first got into things for
So I
growing, for cultivating.
okay. When I get into things, I research them a lot.
Mhm.
And I went on the Shroomery, I went on Reddit, I went on YouTube, um, and I just looked up mushrooms and how to grow them. And yeah, I kind of started things off doing the PF Tech,
Mhm.
um, and from there it kind of transitioned. What kind of got me back into it was kind of the Uncle Ben's Tech,
Sure.
and from there went on to the Broke Boy Tech, and then yeah, I just went on to full on, now here we're at doing
Right.
mycology.
Yep. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Um, so I think yesterday we were talking, and you mentioned that at some point after you started this new journey of using mushrooms as medicine, you had lots of positive experiences initially, but then at one point you had another bad trip. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I've had something happen recently to one of my Discord members that was very sobering, bad situation. And I think it's very important that while we constantly talk about how amazing the medicine is, it's also important to talk about, how we should respect it as well.
Sure, I don't mind going into that. I've had a number of experiences with mushrooms, ranging from doses. I've had a few heroic doses as well. Um, and yeah, I've had experience everything that you can kind of experience from mushrooms. I've experienced
Right.
euphoria, I've experienced happiness, I've experienced sadness, I've experienced paranoia, fear of death. These things that kind of come up. It's just
Yep.
it kind of what I feel, it kind of amplifies your emotions. So whatever kind of headspace you're kind of in, it kind of amplifies it, and whatever you're
Right.
feeling at the time, like if you're feeling good, then you're gonna probably be laughing, giggling for a while. If you're not, then sometimes you might be crying. I went through it, and yeah, when it does get kind of crazy and chaotic, it does kind of humble you,
Yeah.
and you have to really respect it, because when you kind of go off onto a journey, if you kind of don't respect it, you kind of abuse it, you take too much, and it's just like
Yep.
sometimes you just never come back from it.
Very true, unfortunately. Yeah, I have the other day we were talking in the Discord and somebody was talking about how if they're gonna do a heroic dose, they are especially careful in their preparations. They will have they'll put little post-it note signs up of, reminding them you're on a heroic dose. You can do X, Y, and Z. And I had never even thought to do that and was like, God, this is really smart. This is someone who's done this way more than I have. I'm only a year in, so I'm still learning every day. And I just thought, yes, that's a good thing to do if you don't have a trip sitter. Um, Messages to yourself when when you're on your journey is probably a good idea. Um, all right, where are we at here? All right, so 5 years ago, the inevitable accumulation of where we're at today started. Do you want to pull up your so guys, so for the
I mean, there's
viewers?
more to the trip reports if you're interested in hearing them, but
Oh,
I don't know how
for
much.
sure, yes. I mean, I that is so fascinating to me. I've been thinking, do I just have a half-hour trip report show like that? That might be fun too. So, oh man, any and all particularly meaningful trips I would love to hear about. Yes, hit it, go.
Oh wow. Yeah.
How about this? Most surprising,
Most surprising.
most revelatory, surprising, would have never expected that type of trip or that experience to come from a trip. Yeah, like
Okay.
most
The
novel.
okay. There's two experiences that kind of come to my mind. Maybe
Okay.
three. Um, the first one was when I kind of first grew out apes. Um, I took 5.5 grams of them. Um,
Okay. Yeah,
now,
that's plenty.
I had known coming into it, it was a heroic dose. I had kind of prepared for it.
Okay.
I pretty much just laid in my bed, um, with my earphones on, with like my music, trying to like set it, and
Sure.
wow, it was quite the experience. Just laying in my bed, just like watching it unfold
Hmm.
in front of my eyes. There was just nothing else like it.
The apes do hit different. That is for sure. Now, for you, was that more hallucinatory? Was that more just like visuals?
Oh,
What
it
was
was
that journey?
extremely visual, extremely
Hmm.
visual. It is basically, I had an eagle death on there. It was my first kind of like experience with the eagle death.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, it was just mind blowing. That's kind of the only thing I can like sum it up in one word. That's what happens here, and
Hmm. And then so I also want to hear about, after you have these and you come back, what fascinates me the most is how it affects you then when you return to the ego and you return to your body and you return to your life and some of the mundanity of daily living, and the ways that that journey then informs and shapes how you react to things, and how those reactions might be different than how they were before. Do you feel that that happens to you, that the journeys you go on make you a different person when you come back?
I totally agree. I totally
Mm,
agree about that. Um, oh gosh, so much just coming to my mind right now that I'm trying to like, decide kind of what to kind of focus in on. But yeah, something like that has happened recently. I feel like every time I come back from those journeys, I feel a lot more wiser. Um, my recent journey that I had that was kind of very eye opening to me was about 1 gram of pan science. Um, and ego death on that as well. But
1 gram.
yes, and
Nice. Those pans.
and yeah, no, I went into it knowing that that was going to happen somewhat. It's been like a year since then. I've kind of been scared to kind of go into the realm of the hyperspace. Kind of crazy things happen in there. Like it's kind of like I've seen. I hold my hands up, and I've seen like 20 fingers on my hands. I've seen
Right.
my cat with like 3 eyes. I've seen stuff at the walls coming to me. I've seen my headset kind of like crumble into sand. It was kind of interesting seeing all this happen. But
It
when you
is.
come back, it kind of it makes you appreciate the reality that you have currently. The
Right.
I kind of feel like it's nothing like they kind of take you apart to a different perspective, and then when you come back to what you have now, you kind of gain some more knowledge about that perspective, and it kind of makes you feel a bit wiser when you come back from it. In
Yes.
my experience or opinion.
Yeah. So I used to do some creative writing in college, and so I'm into metaphors, and can occasionally be a little poetic in nature. And the one thing, the way I try to describe it to people who have not experienced it, is it is significantly adjusting the way your brain is processing the input that it's receiving. And so even if in like the most boring, un-Terence McKenna-esque way of understanding what's happening, when you come back, it at least gives you the understanding that, I am this being within this body, and the way my eyes and my ears work, have sort of a baseline, and going in an altered consciousness helps you realize, and kind of, for me, significantly humbles you to understand that, you are dwelling within this body, and you are existing within this amazing universe, and for some reason it just always deepens my appreciation for basically everything,
Yes,
most of the time. Yes.
yes, it does. It does
Yes.
make you appreciate everything you have that's in life, and what
Yeah.
makes life so complex and wonderful. It's like
Yep.
we should be having this. This is so great, and that's kind of it gives you a little bit of perspective of
Yeah.
that.
Agreed. All right, man, do you want so I was saying to the viewers, so if you guys are like me, you are a huge fan of the artwork. And I think the artwork is extremely charming. It is super fucking cool. And so when I was talking to PGT, I said we need to bring some of the artwork on and talk about that. And unbeknownst to me, he also put together an amazing slideshow kind of about his journey as a cultivator. So I think we're going to start out with the art. Everybody likes colors. We just got done talking about great trips. So what do you say we walk everybody through the artistic journey that has happened from deciding to create this content?
Sure. Yeah,
Cool.
I can get into this.
Cool, man. All right, let me pull it up here. All right, and now I think you can run the show at this point.
Okay, yes, I can.
Great.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, the evolution of PGC here is kind of where I started here. Um, so it's kind of started back in 2020. Um, I decided to get into content creation. So all of this has been kind of utilizing the skills that I've kind of acquired growing up.
Hmm.
I did a lot of graphic design. I was into building websites for people. I was a real like tech geek, nerdy kid kind of like thing.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, it was that, and in addition to my wife, she's very good at drawing. Um, gosh,
So
so
she's part of that. She's part of the all the art that we see. She's influential in that.
yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so she pretty much does all the artwork for PGC. Everything that you see that is PGC is mostly done by her. Um, so yeah, she kind of
That's
helped me
awesome.
throughout the whole entire process. She kind of, so she would draw it, and then I would kind of fix it up in Photoshop and kind of work with it there, and kind of decide to go into video creation. And at that time, when I kind of got into everything, when I get into topics I like to research, I personally like to go into YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, I learned a lot of stuff from YouTube, and I was looking up stuff for mycology, and I stumbled across a couple people. It was Home Mycology, Arvin 47. Um, stumbled upon Gary's channel, of course, a couple of other people's channel like that, and it got me interested into it, and I kind of absorbed all this information, and I kind of like thought, hey, I like mushrooms, it's influenced me a lot, so I wanted to kind of teach other people about it because for me, mushrooms, one of the things that it taught me to do is it taught me to love myself, and
Okay.
being able to do that, I can love other people, and that's kind of where everything kind of flourishes in. That's kind of what got me into wanting to create content for this. And I thought at the time when I was kind of looking up, like, hey, maybe I could make some content too. So I decided to just make some videos for fun, um, utilizing whatever I had at the time, can in Adobe Premiere and
Right.
Adobe Photoshop. So I made videos, and at first I didn't expect them to go, um, you know, viral or go big or anything like that. I did it just for fun. I just wanted to, um, just see where I can do,
Yeah, and you like
set my
doing that
creative
stuff.
outlet out
Yeah, you're
into.
it. Yeah, it was like a fun hobby. It was something fun to do.
Yes, it really
Hmm.
was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of started off. So when we first initiated it, this right here is what the original PGC looked like.
All right. Now I
So
have to ask: is your wife a Pokemon fan?
yes, we're both Pokemon fans.
Okay. Well, I'm with you too, man. I don't know if you play the trading card game, but I get all my kids into playing that. I definitely, I see the influence for sure. That's very cool.
Yes, yes, yep. So I don't know. For me, it comes something kind of like I played Minecraft as well, so the mushroom kind of like stuck out to
Mm-hmm.
me. So at that time, I was like, hey, let's take the mushroom and let's just kind of like do something with this. So we kind of made videos doing this because I thought of trying to be creative.
Yeah.
So this is where it started off as, and then when it started getting popular, um, here's more pictures of the artworks. So as you can
Wow,
see,
these are cool.
she spent a lot of time on these, creating these. She draws them on a tablet, and yeah, I tell her what I'm interested, what video topics I'm gonna make, and she comes up with these amazing illustrations for that.
Yeah,
Here's
man, these
another
are
one
all
here.
cool, dude.
So yeah, this is like when we first started off, where it went. So after it started kind of getting a little bit big, we're kind of thinking like, hey, maybe it might not be good to do the Minecraft thing, maybe because of like copyright issues or something
Yeah.
like that. I'm
Right.
always worried about that.
All right. So I want to hear. So, what is there a backstory to the deer?
Yes.
I want to
So
hear it.
okay. So I put up a poll on the YouTube community asking people, "Hey, we're gonna change to a new mascot. What would you guys be interested in seeing?" So a bunch of results came back. Deer with mushrooms was one of the top ones. The other top one was a turtle. Um,
Okay.
and at that time, I presented to my wife, like, "Hey, this is what the community thinks. So what do you think about drawing these instead?" So she tells me like I. So she gave it a try, and she prefers having the deer instead, because the turtle is, they're kind of like round headed, they're like bald,
Right.
and she really dislikes like bald things.
Okay.
Um, so she refused to draw turtles. So I was like, all right, deer
Wow.
it is,
What a
deer it
hater
is.
for bald things, man. Dang. I got a
Well,
quick
I get the turtle thing because they're like patient, and
sure.
they're like
Yeah.
wise, they like live long. I get it, but like yeah, we didn't do that. So the
So
deer with the amanita mushrooms at that time, like
yeah,
it
people were
kind of.
talking about that story. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yep, so we kinda just mashed it in and, yeah, so this is what she came up with.
Now
So,
I got a quick viewer question. Let me find it here. We love this art. Exo Spooks wants to know, does his wife have an account anywhere, like for non PGT related art?
um, yes, actually, she started a page on, Instagram
Hmm.
for it.
Cool. Maybe we can, if you get that to me, I can post it in the description so people can go check it out.
At Art of Mushy,
Oh, okay, cool.
Mushy, ARTOFMUSSHY. She hasn't started posting anything yet,
Okay,
but she has plans for content on there regarding mycology,
nice.
in the future here.
I mean, if she likes money, I know, everybody wants to design a new sticker or get a logo and stuff like that. And I imagine she could probably do some drawings for people.
Yeah, no, she's had people ask her to draw for them, but she hasn't had the time
Oh,
to be able to do that. She works as a full-time engineer,
I
and
see.
it was just quite busy for her. But she's just out of her free time, she would kind of help out with the art.
Right.
And me, I worked full time too at the time, so I was just doing this during my downtime
Gotcha.
as well.
Very cool. All right. Sorry. Keep going. I just want to quick get that question answered.
Okay,
I thought it
so
was
yeah,
kind of neat.
it changed over to the deer. So at that point, we kind of went in and like she went in and like recreated all the thumbnails from the Minecraft thing over to
Okay.
the deer. It's like she's phenomenal.
Yeah, I
Um,
see it. That's very cool. In the
yeah,
top.
this is kind of where it started here on the bottom left, and you progress. And she's like, I told her like, hey, we're gonna want like a cool logo that really represents this. And then she
Yeah.
came up with this little sketch here with the PGT thing, and then we decided to just kind of shape it up, color it up, and that's the logo she kind of came up with.
Nice. It's cool. I think that was a good call. I think that, worrying about Minecraft, lawyer letters probably ultimately led to a very slick logo. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Another cool thing is like PGT. He's got a mushroom on his head. He's got mushroom on his mind.
Okay. I like that.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. So that's kind of where it went. Here's a little bit more of some art that she's done for the deer thing here. Most of the art you've seen on the thumbnails already. So I'm trying to go through and kind of show you guys the art that that isn't kind of quite out there. So we have started a Patreon to kind of help to support us in what we do, and on the Patreon, one of the perks that we did was we wanted to give back. So we kind of did this thing where we were sending out personal thank you cards where we were like handwritten thank yous to our best fans on there. And we would send out a
Oh, cool.
postcard that was like a custom design postcard with the art each month.
Hmm.
And they would get that and they would get some stickers along with it as well. It's
Fun.
just a way to just kind of show appreciation that you're supporting
Yep.
us. And we do appreciate you.
Yeah, I think that. So I just want to take a moment to say, for all the vendors watching, and all the young mycologists that maybe someday might decide they've learned enough and want to also be a vendor. In my experience, I'm sure many people will agree. Um, any way you can make it more fun, um, and bring a little bit more of yourself to the table, whether it's through art, or it's through like some cool merchandise, or it's through some funny slaps. I think that goes a long way. And then I remember my very first experience from a vendor who sent me a handwritten note was from a vendor named Missy Myco. And man, the attention to detail was just so obvious, and her plates look so great. And it's an unforgettable experience to get that, a little bit of TLC in there. So I think that's a really cool thing that you guys did. I can't imagine that had to, just at a certain point, get overwhelming though, right? I mean, I'm
Yes,
thinking
it
that's a
did. It
lot of
did.
people.
Yep. Yeah, it did. So we kind of kept up with it for a period of time each month. Here's a bit more of it coming up here. So
Oh, that's awesome.
we couldn't keep up with sending, like 30 plus letters every month, and
Right.
we just had to kind of end it there. We kind of told people ahead of time, like, hey, sorry, we're going to do this instead. So I kind of changed things around on the Patreon
Right.
for that, because we just couldn't have the time to do this anymore, in addition to working full-time jobs and trying to juggle doing what we're doing already. So it was a lot, but people were supporting us, and yeah, so we just wanted
Nice.
to thank them very much for it. And you know it sparked my passion into mushrooms and mycology. So yeah, we kind of just went along with it. And yeah, here's
Ooh.
more
All
art
right.
here.
All right, PGT. We need that shirt. You put that shirt up somewhere. I'm buying that shirt immediately. The sky. Oh yes. I like that.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, here's more artwork.
Oh yeah, so talk to me about so now knowing that you guys like Pokemon cards, I've recently seen some of these cards you guys are doing. Talk to people about what you're doing, and why you're doing it.
Okay. So yeah, it was kind of like an inspiration for us. So you can see here, these are like little rough drafts that I've done of um what we were trying to do. We're trying to like make a really cool looking
Mm-hmm.
card to kind of like provide, because we didn't really see anyone who was really doing it, or anyone that did made any cards. They were kind of like eh.
Right.
And I kind of want to do justice to cubes and other species, all mushroom species actually. And yeah, I'm just been fascinated with them, and how each different varieties that have like unique looks to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to create cards for them.
That's cool. Who else is doing this is Gary V is doing a whole series of cards. Dude, I'm ready. I think these cards need to be like characters, and they need to have hit points, and um that would be super rad. So I hope you keep making these cards, cuz they show off your artistic abilities, and it's also a way for people to collect their favorite varieties. I think that's very cool.
Yep, I agree. So I'm kind of working through it. We're trying to keep making new cards coming out. So
Mhm.
I just think it's a fun thing
Yeah,
for
exactly.
mycology. It makes it interesting and cool, and like, hey, look at all these cool different types of mushrooms that are out there. They're just
Yeah.
amazing.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty much
so we're at the
all I
end of
have
that
here
one.
with
Okay.
the artwork. Yep.
Cool. Um, well, I 100% hope you keep integrating your art more and more. I had Yoshi on, and he talked about what a blessing that he never thought that his interest and his journey with at-home mycology would actually begin to inform, inspire, and then help him have gratification in his artistic realm that he had a background in. And so I kind of see like the similar thing where you are you're you know you're the mushroom guy, you're teaching people how to grow mushrooms, but now you're also getting to celebrate this creative skill set that you have, and it's a way of getting a little bit more of yourself out there and give it away to the people that love you and love your content. So I think it's a super cool instinct, and I hope you keep honoring it, because I know, people just love to buy cool stuff and have I want those cards now. I get it. So I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. We think it's great to keep trying to make cool stuff for the mycology community.
Agreed.
Anything that can make mycology more fun and inviting,
Yep.
you know, I'm all for it.
Yeah, man. So one of my buddies, he just sent me the other day this T-shirt, and I guess he had like a little Groot figurine one day, and he's just playing, right? He's like harvesting some Enigma, and so he's like, "Oh, this would be such a fun photo if I like make it look like Groot is like in awe of this Enigma." And I just love it when people do that kind of stuff. It just makes the whole process more fun, more interesting, more compelling. So I love being able to showcase that stuff. Um, all right, you have this killer slideshow that I am personally, now that I know that you made it, I cannot wait to see it. So, do you want to do a visual walkthrough of your cultivation journey? I think that's, you know, being the grower spotlight for the month. I think this is really like the bread and butter here of what I cannot wait to hear you talk about. Are you ready? L-
Okay.
let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, hold on. I got to get to the beginning. I guess somehow I accidentally got us all the way through to the end. Let's go back here. All right. There we go.
All right. Um, yeah, so where do you want me to lead in with this?
So now if I remember the first slide, I think it was your first tub. So are we going back to like 2017?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Let's go back. Time travel.
Okay. Um, just give me a quick second here while I grab a sip of water.
Sure. All right, guys, a little ASMR for you. PGT also does quality ASMR, as we're now discovering.
Oh, really? Did it pick up all that?
That was great, man. It was like you're a Foley artist over there.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's dive into this here. This is my first hub
Very
coming out. So
cool.
when I first kind of started out, I did kind of like a hybrid. I did PF Tech, and then I kind of broke up the PF Tech cakes, and then I spawned them out with core into shoe boxes.
Okay.
And this is kind of what I ended up with. They were golden teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's where I started off as.
So now, where were you living when you grew those?
I was living in an apartment at the time,
You're still in
and
Philadelphia?
no, no, this is outside Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I grew
So
up in
the
Philly,
so
but
so these are
I don't live in Philly.
gotcha. But I mean that's your nearest city, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay, okay. So yeah, so these are, I mean, can we go ahead and just say these are maybe the original Philly Golden Teachers? Is that fair to say?
possibly.
Okay, let's do it. There they
I
are.
mean, I personally am trying to create my own Philly Golden Teachers.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess you could say these are the
Okay.
Golden Teachers that kind of started me down that path.
It's very cool.
Let's see here. Go to the next one. Yep, these are them as well. Again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after I did that, I kind of took a break a little bit from growing, and then what kind of brought me back into things is kind of when I heard about Uncle Ben's tech coming back out. So
Right.
around this time, they were calling it the Spider-Man tech. It was really interesting to kind of watch this kind of like unfold when someone like figured out, hey, you could actually do this. So that's kind of what got me interested because it kind of made things very simple for people to kind of get into mycology. and it kind of brought me back into it. And I've had hit or misses with Uncle Ben's. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, you kind of feel bad with the contamination. It's just like you get like wet rot and like it just smells sour. It's not
Yeah.
great. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what kind of got me back into it. And then from there, I got interested into it. I got a pressure cooker. That's kind of like when things kind of like start hitting off. So here's some more footage. I was doing a Brookboy Tech at this time.
Okay.
I did not have the pressure cooker yet, so all these were done. The Brookboy Tech was done in a pot, and these little PF thing, I sterilized them in the Instapot.
Yeah, a lot of people do this. I mean, I just cook rice in mine, but um, yeah, a lot of people seem to use that Instapot to great success.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worked well, and yeah, so yeah, I started growing. As you see, a lot of apes. I was
Hmm.
interested in them. Here's an interesting thing. I can shed a little bit of the tidbits for you guys. So I tried doing casing layers on apes because like this is whole thing of like this casing layers help them. Like, do they need casing? Like, how do you grow apes? Like, are they hard to grow? Like, they're not hard to grow. You can treat them just like any other cubes. You don't need this additional casing layer. I was experimenting it. So what I ended up finding is that I put a little layer of just CBG on top of it after it got fully colonized, because people say, oh, it's supposed to help with them pinning. And all I ended up finding was that they just kind of take a little bit longer to colonize them, and they still pin the same way as they kind of did before. Um,
Yeah, I when I first was growing in tubs, I pseudo
I
cased
find,
everything, and
yeah,
I do not actually almost ever do that anymore. There's only a couple varieties I still like to do that for.
yeah, I find just casing right at the beginning after spawning is good enough, and you just let it run, and there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Here's some more. I really love the shoe boxes when I was starting out. So here, I had, I guess, I don't know. These people were calling them like Starry Night apes, whatever
Hmm.
the pheno looking things. I didn't know it at the time. I just just got an apes fringe from somewhere and went with it, and that's kind of what it gave me. Um, yeah, the shoe boxes were a great way to kind of get started for this.
I still
Here's
love
some
shoe
more apes.
boxes, man. I'm not mad at shoe boxes at all.
Yeah.
It works.
So yeah, I kind of experimented with things going, you know, bigger, going smaller, and yeah, I find it works out either way.
They're simultaneously very picky and not picky at all.
You know,
Yeah, no, those look good, man. Yeah, I like those Starry Nights. I That's a variety I have only failed at. Um, yeah, it doesn't like me.
interesting picture here down at the bottom, bottom right here. These are apes that I took a clone of one of my apes and I gave it to one of my buddies, and he grew them out and he got these instead.
Hmm.
Um, Very interesting looking. And I told him, "Yo, take a clone of that. Like, give it back to me. Like, I
Right.
want to try to work with it." So we kind of like nicknamed this the strawberry apes because of just how it looks. It's just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh,
It's just
I see
a
it.
weird looking ape. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen ape look like that before. So I wanted to try and clone that and replicate that again. Um, and I don't think I was ever able to get them looking like that anymore.
Well, at least you got a picture. I have grown many fruit where I'm like, God damn it, why didn't I get a picture of that? I get lazy.
Yeah, there's more apes. So I was so fascinated with apes, I just kept cloning them out. As you can see, they started getting bigger and bigger. I kind of like nicknamed these like the King Kongs, just because of
Mm-hmm.
how big they look. They're just so cool.
Oh
Here's
yeah.
more of them.
Yeah, they get pretty big.
I was able to get them pretty big, just constantly cloning all the big ones, and this is kind of what I resulted with. It's kind of cool to kind of see them become like that. Yeah, here's some more of them.
Ooh, those look cool. Now, so I'm also noticing you, like me, um, in the beginning, everybody told me, oh, you got to have 3-4 inch cake. And just through sort of the logistics of me, spawning in jars and stuff like that, I ended up doing thinner cakes, and I've never regretted that. I get really nice first flushes. Maybe I'm not getting 5 or 6 flushes out of them, but yeah, that you're kind of right where I try to be at with my shoe boxes, which is maybe just shy of 2 inches, like maybe inch and 3/4.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Um, I like yeah, you can definitely get a good decent flush out of just a little bit of
Yeah.
yeah, bit of substrate.
I was watching somebody recently on Facebook. I can't remember who it was, but they were going extremely thin and still getting flushes that basically look like that. And it's like, oh shit, maybe I need to try this. That's kind of looks cool. I I would have never thought you could go quite that thin. I would have guessed it would have dried out too soon, but they say it works. So I like to fuck around and find out.
Yeah, well, what happened here is as they were colonizing, they shrunk the entire thing down to,
Mm-hmm.
that little bit. So when it
Oh,
came out of
wow.
that little 12-quart shoebox,
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing that now. Yeah, that's quite a shrink.
yeah, that was the first flush too. It was like I was amazed to see that that can happen. And all of this is just pretty much ran with this shoebox and pretty much dubstep style.
Mm-hmm.
Here's more that I've
Gorgeous.
harvested. Here's some. I would still these are PE7s.
Okay.
Like I'm just so fascinated in how they look. These are Avery albinos.
Yeah, those look good.
These are Martiniques. Like I just kind of went out and just wanted to find all different types, and they're pretty cool. And here's on the next one here. It's kind of very interesting. I don't know how this happened, but it's just a cool picture. So
Yeah,
I
what is
decided
that? Is
to
it
take
like
it.
just a lot of teeny pins? And
So
then,
yeah, it's a whole bunch of aborts,
uh-huh.
and
And
for
then
the
just,
longest time, I could not figure out why I was getting so many aborts, and I just don't know. I've given it the same conditions as I've done with everything else.
hmm,
Yet for some reason these just would not work out. And what kind of sucks at the time is I kind of basically like made spores to agar,
okay.
and then I just went from there directly into liquid culture. So I didn't. So what I thought might have happened was maybe I have selected out some bad genetics,
Probably, yeah.
and it wouldn't take to my fruiting conditions. And what I've noticed is when I try using that same culture again, the same thing would happen again,
Yeah.
and I would just get tons of aborts. I'm like, what the heck is going on with these? And that's kind of what I've chalked it up to. But honestly, I just don't know what else could have caused this. It's just a cool picture. So what happened was I just kind of let it go. I kind of kept it
Mm-hmm.
fruiting, and eventually one pin decided to like just like grow and like make its way up and
It's
poked
like
its head
not, yeah,
out
it's
of the
like a
lid and
giant
like
pin. That's cool.
that was the only fruit I was able to get from there. And I took the spores from it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna start these back from spores, and
Mm-hmm.
see what it does, and work clones out from there.
We've all done it, right? We've all had a very pathetic, third flush, and we're walking out to the dehydrator in the garage holding like 3 fruits. I've definitely done that. I'm like, man, why am I doing all these extra flushes? I'm not getting enough fruit out of them.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's this?
So these are the strawberry apes that my
Oh, right. Cool.
friend tried to give me. So I made a transfer out, and this is kind of what it took to. I was using my potato flakes recipe,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I ended up with. pretty cool looking. So I just snapped a
Yeah, it looks
picture of
real
that.
cool.
Let's see, next picture. These are golden teachers.
Oh, now why did you move the slide?
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
let's see.
I moved it.
Oh,
Did
okay.
it move for you?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
I see golden teachers now.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So
Great
these are
canopy.
done in a unmodified tub, actually.
Like, what is that? 20, 30 quart?
I'm trying to remember here. I think this was either 66 or 80 quart. I think.
Oh,
Can't
big.
remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they got pretty big then. Nice.
Let's see. These are pretty interesting right here.
I like how you slid it as the fruit was growing that direction. That's an advanced move right there.
Yes. So what I was doing is I was just adjusting the fresh air exchange for this little dub tub right here. Um, yeah, so it's kind of fascinating to me how gigantic some of these things can get coming out of like this little shoebox. This is like a 6 quart
Right.
shoebox. And I just couldn't believe this is even possible. So
Yeah, it's
this
big.
one, I used this one for the clone video on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I kind of chopped off the head of that one because it was going to sporulate over everything because it was like the first one that kind of came up out of it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, look at that sucker, was massive.
yeah, and that came out from a clone.
Nice.
So, oh, here's go moving on. I started checking out Enigma.
Oh, I
Now
thought that was white frosted flakes there for a minute. Oh, that is Enigma. Okay.
that's my first
Nice.
time with the Enigmas. I got it as a gift from another guy in the area. So my buddy that had the strawberry apes, he got it from his buddy over in like New Jersey, and he gave me a plate of this, and yeah, it's pretty cool how different looking they are compared to other cubes.
They really are. They are their own thing.
Yep. So from there, I ended up moving. So I got out the apartment, and I moved to have a place now, and I started up the PGC lab.
Okay.
So I wanted to get into making more content and getting things going. Let me see. Let me get this.
I don't know why. I think you're not, for some reason it's not clicking forward, but I'm going off your cues and I'm trying to keep us going here.
Yeah. Yep. So this is my lab at the time.
Still looking better than my lab, but yeah, I hate working in a basement. Everybody that has like a finished room, I'm so jealous of you guys.
Oh,
All right, so
there.
you want to try to advance the slide?
Yeah, I can.
I'm wondering
Yeah,
why you
no, I got it now.
Okay, you got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, go for it. Keep going.
All right. So from there, I got a microscope. I gotta check it into spores.
Yep.
Like these are some golden halos.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's crazy with the things you can see underneath the microscope. And they're not that hard to use really.
Just gotta start messing around.
All right, next one here. These are some Jack Frost.
Those look great.
Yep. So I kind of started branching out and meeting and talking to connecting with other mycologists and seeing what other genetics that are out there.
Right.
And I started to try and find different varieties just look different, like unique. Like that's the thing that I loved about these, that um, you can create this, people can create this by crossbreeding them.
Yep. Yeah, and they are, I mean, the Jack Frosts, Dave really outdid himself. They're an iconic fruit for sure. They're just they're just stunning.
Yeah, I just love the bluegills on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of this, kind of influences the art on the cards.
Easy to be inspired by some of these fruit for sure. Now, okay, here you have one of my favorite traits, which is the little ripply. I see them a lot on like Melmac to take a while, or if I like give them a little bottom watering during a flush, I tend to get more of this. I love that gnarly stipe. That's just one of my favorite things. I think it looks so cool. Now,
Yeah.
So what variety is this? Still Jack Frost?
No, these are tats.
It's Tats. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
So
don't
cool.
know how they ended up looking like this. I've seen tats lots of
Hmm.
times, but I've just never seen them end up like becoming like this. So this is like a one-time thing that I've noticed, and yeah, I just couldn't replicate it anymore. But they're pretty cool, so I just took a snap of it. These here are some ODPEs.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites right there. They are very easy to harvest. They have a nice density to them. They're handsome. Yeah, it's one of my probably top fives. I love those guys.
And from there, these are the ghosts that came out.
Yeah,
So
with those little caps.
when I first heard of this, I was like, "What the heck are ghosts?" Like, I looked into
Mhm.
this, and like they call them ghosts because they look like little Pac-Man ghosts.
Yep.
So yeah, it was just crazy to see them have those weird looking things, and I just wanted to collect them. Like, it was
Yeah.
just so cool.
One day I hope to cross and create a ghost hybrid that's got a rainbow cap with a nice smiley face on it, but I have a feeling that's going to take me a while. Hard to get that morphology.
Yeah, just keep trying.
Yeah.
All right, next one here. These are some blue ape reverts.
Like them.
So these are the first ones that I've come across that kind of like show a blue trait in the caps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're to me, they're one of my favorites. They're to me they well to me they're definitely my favorites because um, it's kind of interesting the story that came about getting these.
Let's hear
Uh,
it.
so
I
with
want
these,
all the stories.
right? So with these, it came from one of my buddy and friend. He came on as a supporter onto the Discord channel, and he was just, me and him was just chatting, and I was just kind of helping him along. Like at that time when I kind of started, I was just kind of helping people in Discord and try to be helpful where I can because I wasn't big at that time. But I was helping him out, and I was starting, and he ended up growing a uh, the Ape 1.0 out,
Okay.
and out of his flush, he ended up with a one fruit that had a that reverted and showed gills, and it actually had spores on the gills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you don't normally see that comes out of ape.
Right.
So he took the spores, the spore print from there, sent it to me, and he said, "Hey, check this out. Like these came from my ape tub. Like I want you to try to like see what they'll do for you." So at the time, I was also checking out the ape reverts from Jake,
Mm-hmm.
um, and at the time, me being so fascinated with apes again, uh, I wanted to distinguish his ape from the Jake's ape, so I put a B on it, and the B was just kind of for his initials. And afterwards, when I grew them out, they look completely different than the other ape reverts from Jake. So they have these blue traits, and from there, I decided to just kind of call them blue ape reverts.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of kept the bee, kind of as like an ode to him for it. Poor guy. He ended up with like a respiratory condition from the spores. It's one of those rare
Oh, I've
things.
heard a few people have this happen.
It's
Yeah,
one of those rare things that can happen. But he's pretty much like allergic to spores, so he could not like continue um, doing it. So he
right.
sent it to me and was like, "Hey, try and work with this." So that's kind of where the origin of the Blue Eight Reavers came out.
Yeah, I like those the little blue umbos on there look cool.
So what's interesting is I kept cloning these out, and eventually they stopped producing dark spore pigments on their gills.
Do they produce any spores or do they just change color?
They still produce spores. I
They
believe they're
just
translucent now, but I
okay.
haven't been able to get a hold of them again to double check on these the scope. But yeah, I kind of started to try and go back to spores from them again to try and get new phenotypes from them.
Very cool. Look at those.
These are some more enigmas.
Oh yeah, those look great. Now, how do you harvest your enigma? Do you use a special knife or
I
those
kind of just
scissors?
it the scissors and X-Acto knife
Nice.
or a blade, fruit knife, whatever you can.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of a weird thing to kind of they to harvest. They kind of crumble apart as you kind of like
Right.
go at them. They're very fragile. Next slide here.
Ooh, loving that. What is that?
This is iceberg.
Looks very cool.
Yeah, these came from Miss Mush.
They're hers. Yep. She we're gonna have her and a few other female mycologists on in December, and we'll definitely be talking about her iceberg. Um, I have not grown them yet. They look super fun to grow, so hopefully I'll get the chance here shortly.
Yeah, it's very interesting what they kind of portray out on the caps there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some more old DPEs.
Oh yeah.
Here's some more of the Blue Eight Reavers.
Ooh, I like that. So as they get bigger, the blue remains on the nipple portion, but then it kind of whitens out, I guess, is what I'm seeing there.
Yes,
Gotcha. I like those. I've not grown anything that look like those.
me neither.
Yeah,
So
they're unique.
that's why they're one of my favorites. I would say right now they are my favorites until I can kind of come up with my own PGTs and
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to experiment crossing these with others and seeing what kind of
Right.
traits can kind of come up from that. And next slide. These, I don't know. I took this cool picture here. It looks like I don't know. What would you say that looks like?
Man, I don't know, but my buddy Mushman9000 on Instagram, he has a variety that basically just looks like a tub full of stones, and this looks very similar to that.
So these ended up being the ghosts.
Oh, now did they ever ultimately develop the ghost cap, or did they stay like this?
They kind of just stayed like this. One thing I've noticed with ghosts is they kind of stay pretty small.
Yeah, they are definitely small. Now,
Once
is
they
this
are,
the same? Is this the same as that last tub, or is this a different tub of ghost?
this is the same.
It is. Okay.
Yep. So once they kind of start getting blued out or they kind of stop maturing, you can't, they're not progressing in size anymore. Um, that's kind of when I start to get them.
Now, is this more the blue ape revert? Or is this
No.
blue? What is this?
This is another genetic called phobos.
Oh, yes, Phobos. I have also not grown Phobos. God, what am I doing with my life? I'm just going to work every day, fucking wasting my time. God, I got fruit to grow. Too much. Yeah, those are cool. Everybody loves growing these. They remind me a while back I was super obsessed with growing stormtroopers. My buddy Dirty South came up with this little albino riptide or tidal wave revert, and yeah, it looks kind of like Avery's, but different feel when you're on them, and they just pack a tub. And these Phobos always seem to just pack a tub like to the hilt.
Yes, I think if you know have very healthy grain spawn genetics, fruiting conditions, you can pack tubs too.
Yep.
But these are Haoles.
God damn it, PGT. All you're doing is just showing me frickin' varieties I have never fruited. You're making me feel extremely inadequate right now. God damn it.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of crazy how I've been able to just connect with people in the
Mm-hmm.
mycology community and see what they're up to and kind of like trade and talk with them,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I made friends doing this.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
half the fun. I mean, I remember the first time I did a trade and I put a little letter in it and I got a little letter back and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in elementary school writing my pen pal. And I loved it. It was fun. Mailing things again and yeah, like trading prints and stuff like that. All those are all these little nooks and crannies of the home mycology hobby that just make it a joy. All
it
right, now what's
does.
that?
These
Look
are
at
apes
these
again.
dark ass caps. Holy shit.
I might have let these go a little bit longer than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Those look like they work.
yeah,
Those look like they work. Ooh, Thrasher. What is that?
these are SV10s.
Oh, yep. Side team.
Yes, I've seen.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, SV10. He's got many SVs. I think I've only ever received 10 and one other one, and I think I've only successfully grown them once, unfortunately, but they were very cool. They kind of reminded me of either Ape Tar or Thrasher a little bit.
It kind of
Yeah,
does.
very cool fruit.
Here we have some apes.
Apes? What? Do you
Hmm.
like apes?
I love apes.
I know, I'm kidding. You grow a lot of cool apes with a lot of, dark blue caps, though. I feel like your apes look cooler than my apes. I need to start growing some of your apes.
I've noticed some of them have cream color caps too, but I've noticed as they let it go, they eventually start to darken.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dang. Look at those caps.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you kind of take them back from spores, you kind of run them back out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they just looks different. Now, these are worked out from Manna from Heaven.
Nice.
So I think he was doing a collab with Baz
Mm-hmm.
Isidium, and he had some swabs available through like a charity thing, and I was able to grab some, and I worked out his PE, and I cloned out some phenotypes that I wanted, and I picked up an albino during the MSS grow,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I just worked it out until I came up with these, and I just love how they look. So yeah,
Yeah, there's some wild like frilly caps in there. I like those.
and as of recent, I started to try and check out Pan Science.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what led up to me recently, and I was able to get I would call it a pretty successful.
Oh yeah. Okay, now what kind of pans are these?
These are Pan Science Blue Springs.
Blue Springs. Okay. I like these guys. I mean, I'm a big fan of spaghetti, so that might be influencing this, but these look very cool.
Yes, they're very skinny. And what I've noticed with them in the tubs is they they want more fresh air,
Mm-hmm.
and I just couldn't provide them enough in here. But I'm trying. So one of
Yep.
the things I tried to do at the time was I put it in front of my flow hood to try and like blow, try to let like the air exchange happen to the filter patches.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed it wasn't really doing too well to try to like provide enough for them. So what I ended up doing is I cracked the lid onto it and I let it run. And then I noticed all the condensation dried up. I'm trying everything up now.
Yeah.
So I tried to mist it, and then I tried to mist the sides, and then the mist kind of touched the pans on the outsides, and they kind of started turning blue.
Yep.
So they're very sensitive to moisture, and
Ooh,
it's
check
kind
that
of what
out.
they ended up kind of going with. I kind of let it go to see how far they can get, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I've noticed with them they could not get enough fresh air exchange to be able to open up
Get a
their
cap.
caps
Yeah.
to
Right.
get a spore print out of. Um, but nonetheless, I think that I'm still trying to experiment with this a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and see where I can come up with to try and provide them with a good, adequate condition inside of a tub. So I'm doing a little bit more experimenting, and I kind of want to, share what I've learned after I've experimented a little bit more.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I just grew some gnats. I had the same problem where, I knew I needed more fresh air, and the more I gave, the more it would dry out. And then the little like blanket of mycelium turned blue out of being dried out a little bit. And then I did the same thing. And yeah, I probably just need a Martha 10 at some point.
Yep. So I'm
Gotta,
gonna try with the Martha tens again and with tubs and see where they go.
yep. Just gotta keep playing around. Ooh,
So
look
this
at
is what
that.
the lab looks like currently.
Looking good. Gotta have, uh, I talk to a lot of newbies and I just say, man, buy some shelving, dude. You you gotta buy some shelving. So I'm weird when I see a lab with a lot of shelving. I'm like, I want that lab.
Yeah, shelving definitely makes things a lot more
Keeps me
convenient.
organized. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And if you can get things on wheels, definitely like get wheels for them.
Yes, wheels are also nice. I do not like dragging things around. I try to keep everything where it's supposed to be, but yeah, I got a couple carts. It's nice to have them on wheels. And when you're cleaning, sometimes it's nice to just be able to move the cart
Yep.
for
And on
sure.
the right side, I have a little sticker board,
Mm-hmm.
a little slap board. So if you kind of been in the mycology community, you kind of accumulate these over time,
Yep.
and that's kind of where they're at. They for me they symbolize the connections I've made with
Yep.
mycologists out there, and you know it's freaking awesome.
I agree. The slap, that's like, just another little sliver of the at home game that is fun. I agree. All right, now what do we got here?
Just more shots of the lab. So I'd like to try and keep things very organized.
Mm-hmm.
And this pegboard here I got from IKEA.
Oh, yeah, my daughter has one of those.
Yep. So
I
I
have to go
slotted it
steal
with
hers now.
everything that I have that I would need in front of the flow hood is right at my hand. I just grab
Right.
from there and work with it.
Very
And
cool.
then here are the Blue 8 Reavers that I've started back from spores again.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm getting various
All
different
sorts
types
of
of
phenos in there.
genetics.
Yeah.
Yep, popping up here. So yeah, I'm kind of working these out to kind of see what I can do in terms of isolating from these genetics.
Very cool. So that was, here's what I like. It just makes me feel like, oh, PGT, he's just like me. He's, growing a lot of mushrooms and learning and all that kind of stuff. Now, here's what I want to talk about. The difference here, though, is, let me pull this off. Unlike most of us, you decided to bring us along in your journey and share your knowledge and the things that you figured out as you were, learning different aspects of cultivation. Can we talk a little bit about what that journey has been like? I know you said earlier in the beginning it was just like something fun to do because you liked Photoshop, you liked mess around and all that. But at some point, it obviously, especially as it got traction and it was obvious that people really craved the content, you took it more seriously. You want to talk a little bit about that change and what that was like, what was challenging about it, what was really fun, and just a little bit more of a understanding about what that journey is like.
It kind of you can kind of see it in the artwork that I've kind of shown
Mm-hmm.
going across that. Right when that change that we decided with the mascot is kind of when we kind of gained enough traction at that time. I think maybe I had around like 10K
Okay.
around that time, and I'm like, this is, you know, getting. I've never imagined I would get 10K subscribers, and I was just trying to do something for fun. And at that point, made me realize that hey, there's some expectations on me to kind of like continue this, and I wanted
Right.
to try and continue it and go forward with it. And then I kind of started to, it kind of became more like a business at that point. I kind of started having to look at it more like a business,
Right.
um, because at that time, I guess for me, it's just a side hustle. So
Mm-hmm.
I never intended for any of this to really go this way, but
But
here it
see,
is.
that's how, because then you were doing it for all the right reasons. You're not that guy who's like money, 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 money. Everybody can see through that shit, right? So you were having fun and enjoying it. Now I agree. I mean, I get people. Man, I only got 1,000 subscribers, and I get people going, please keep making these podcasts. Please keep making them. I love them. I look forward to them, and it's really true. Like people, they start expecting you and start taking, you feel it's like an obligation that you really have to keep doing this because people are asking you to do it.
Yes, and the pressure kind of built onto me, and when I first started it, I was like making like videos each week and going at it. Like I did like 10 straight weeks of it, and I
Mm-hmm.
just got completely burnt out, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't handle it anymore. It was just way too much on my plate that me working a full-time job trying to juggle this is just getting way too much, and I
Right.
kind of had to consider making changes and adjustments to kind of adjust and make things work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been, since I'm trying to figure this all out and get better at it and make better podcasts, I watch these content videos on YouTube. And, a lot of people are out there going, every week make a video, every week, keep it going, more, 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 more. And then other people do videos where it's like, yeah, but, if you're really not putting your all into it and not able to make a really great thing every week, then don't feel like you got to do them every week. Quality is definitely more important than quantity.
Yeah, so I kind of took a step back from that, and now I'm just
Right.
kind of working on multiple projects underneath, but I'm not trying to like pressure myself into
Right.
a certain timeline for it. I'm just trying to go at a pace I'm comfortable with, that so that I can make the quality content that I
Yeah.
know that people would really enjoy.
Well, we love them. I mean, I can tell you, you're one of maybe two or three content creators on YouTube who, when people start asking me questions, you're very frequently, the video I'm sending them to, oh, here, go watch this, and then we can talk. If watch PGT's video on this, and if you still have questions, come talk to me. Um, And I would like to talk about that a little bit because my experience was you were hands down one of the clearest and most concise content creators. There were many out there. I mean, maybe not like a million, but there were plenty. And you were just immediately digestible, listenable, I didn't feel like you were wasting my time. You were just there to give me the information and get me growing. And you were for sure seminal in my early cultivation, some of all those early grows. Did you? I want to hear a little bit about how conscious that was. Like, were you scripting your shows out? Were you, what was that like to go? Because I have to assume you said, I want to be clear. I want to be the guy that's making really clear, understandable videos. How did you make that a goal? And, what did you do to accomplish that?
Well, I kind of just thought about what I wanted to see in a YouTuber that
Hmm.
covers this kind of thing. And I personally like YouTubers that kind of keep things simple, straight to the
Yeah.
point, concise. And I try to keep things short because of that, with that in mind, it's because that's the kind of content that I personally like.
Yeah.
So I think maybe other people might vibe with it. So that's kind of why I went with it.
And so let me ask you, so, I mean, they're just exceptionally clear and easy to follow and understandable. Were you plotting out each step and really trying to craft it before you filmed it?
So it starts with kind of like an idea
Mhm.
of what I want to make the video about, and then I would try and come up with the script for it, or what kind
Okay.
of points that I would want to cover on it, and then I would try and gather the footage for it, and
Nice.
then from there I would take the footage, I would edit it, voice over it, and double check it here and there a
Yep.
couple of times, make sure everything is good, and yeah, send it out.
Very cool. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And uh I tell you what, content creators that I really like in other realms, outside of mycology, um, I the number one thing that gets me to press the subscribe button is that they're delivering content I want and they're not boring me with stuff that I don't want. So I really appreciate that. Now, of course, me, I'm a fucking moron. I do the complete opposite. I do long form content, where we go really exhaustively in depth talking about stuff. But I do appreciate your kind of content and every new video I look forward to seeing. So I appreciate that. Maybe one day I'll learn how to shut my mouth and we'll have very concise, efficient conversations. But for me, this is working right now, and people seem to enjoy it. When now you said you're making the kind of content you wanted to watch. I will say that I spend a lot of time listening to Yoshi's podcasts as I'm doing transfers or building sterilizers, and so I think that maybe is why I get into that, because I'm keeping up with all of his podcasts, and I'm like, yeah, be
I'm
cool
starting to
if
get
there was
into that
more.
as well. I'm starting to get into that as well. Checking out
Yeah,
Yoshi's podcast,
yeah,
checking out
man.
your podcast, and
It's just something to listen, right? You just put it on and go to work, and it's cool, man. It gets you in the vibe, right? It gets you in the myco mode.
totally
It's
does. It
good.
totally does. Something to kind of
Yeah,
keep you there, company, as you're going along with it, and you're kind of absorbing
exactly.
things in as you're kind of doing it.
Yeah. Um, cool, man. Where are we at here? Um, all right. We only have hundreds of people listening in right now. A testament to your popularity and fandom for sure. How about we open it up for some questions here? Um, I think I've been asked about 50 if I scroll back through here. But anybody watching, if you have something you want to ask PGT, post it below and we'll get it up on the screen. And while you're doing that, I'm going to scroll back here and try to find some questions I have missed because we were having too much fun here. All right, here we go. I'll start with this so I can still scroll back here. Harris Babick asks, what's your favorite substrate for PEs?
Um, majority of my substrate is CVG.
Okay. Have you done any experimenting with additives and poo sub and stuff like that? And if so, what did you find?
Uh, yeah, I've done additives. I've tried Dr. Mike's product,
Mm-hmm.
and I find they help out with my CBG grows. It you know I've noticed more. I get more out of it than I don't. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you want to use it? In terms of poo,
I'm with you.
I have experimented with that. I personally don't find it makes that big of a difference,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not exactly sure. There's so much that we don't quite know for sure
Right.
about cultivation, so I'm in the process of just trying to experiment and
Mm-hmm.
learn through experience. And once I kind of get a better grasping, that's kind of when I would, once I get a better understanding, I feel that
Right.
I can now explain to other people about it.
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy Metalhead. He did a side by side, and then poo versus I think it was Humble Fungus's poo substrate versus just a CV substrate, and then he sent in the fruits for HPLC testing, and there was a bump in potency for the poo, but was it significant enough that I would want to start running it and risk more contamination? Probably not. Also, one, side by side, we definitely need more and more of this HPLC testing and more data to start making more conclusions for sure. But I think some people just, it's fun, right? To go, I have exotic manure and it does more closely replicate, what they're getting in nature. So I think some of the people who really get the poo sub dialed in, they surely have some gorgeous grows. I mean, some of the greatest cultivators on Instagram that just have, canopies to die for. It seems like more often than not, those guys are the ones who are running poo sub. I have also kind of feel like you. I've never felt the need to run it because I'm getting good results without it. Okay, next question from Forbidden Flowers Farm, BCN. Best grain and method to recommend for beginners. Favorite grain and what do you recommend for somebody new starting out? Oops, sorry, pulled that off.
Best grain. I'm in the process of trying to find out the best grain. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
a big grain experiment to kind of run all the different types of grains across and kind of see what exactly it can do.
Yep.
But right now, my favorite I would say is probably millet,
Mm-hmm.
oats, and maybe birdseed.
Yeah, I like seed. Birdseed
Um,
was my first, and I like birdseed. There's birdseed works.
I would say for beginners, the broke boy tech with the brown rice is
Right.
definitely the most beginner friendly way of getting into it. You don't need a pressure cooker. And yeah, it's just brown rice is just extremely nutritious for
Uh,
mycelium. It seems.
all right, let me keep going here. All right, this is a great question. I've dealt with this a couple times. When you're mid grow, how do you plan for going out of town? Daniel Brown. Good question.
Hmm. So what you could do is you could put some stuff in the fridge to slow down colonization.
Okay. Yeah.
The lower the temperatures are, the slower things go. Just try and plan around that. I mean, if you're gonna end up, you know, having something that's gonna fruit right before you go out of town, well, unfortunately,
It's a bad scene.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a bad thing. You're gonna come back as just nothing but like
Yeah. It's an
darkness.
abyss. Yes. You open it up and you're like, wow, there is an actual black hole in my house. Um, all right. Quantum Mutant Q. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. When harvesting, do you clip below the mycelium or leave fruit? I've never seen a clear video of reaching into a crowded tub with a sharp object.
So I find I like using both ways. It kind of depends on what's happening. If
Mm-hmm.
it's just way too much, then I'm just gonna have to go through it with the knife. But if it's sparrows or something, I like to kind of pluck them out and clean the
Right.
subs out. So what I've noticed over time, kind of even if you cut them off, they'll still recolonize and they'll start to find new areas to create pins out of
Right.
and shoot out of. Um, So the stumps and stuff doesn't harm them per se. It kind of recolonizes back into it, but it does take up space that you
Yeah.
could have more footings there. So depending on how clean you can clean your surface off, you can get a better flush.
Yeah, I had a friend back in the day say, well, I kind of like just cutting very carefully, with a scalpel, try to leave that root base so I'm not disturbing any of the substrate. But I found exactly what you said, which is if I then have, especially for grows that have a lot of clusters, you might be kind of taking up a lot of surface area by leaving some of that. Whereas if I can get that off and I can do a light scrape of the mycelium, remist, fruit can now grow anywhere.
Yep,
That seemed to.
that's what I've noticed.
Okay, here's here's the funny one. Jesus on steroids. How can you really claim to be from Philly if you haven't said John once in this interview?
Oh,
Funny, funny. Okay.
yeah, that comes up sometimes. I,
Yeah.
I, I don't have to say John all the time, but I
Uh-huh.
do love saying John from time to time. That John's awesome.
That's funny. Uh, okay, super specific. Hate to put you on the spot. Um, but Mesopotamia wants to know, I wonder if PGT framed the poster of the buck in a suit I got him for Christmas last year. I
Yes,
love that your friends are your friends and Patreons and whatnot are buying you Christmas presents. Um, so you did.
yes, I did.
Nice.
I might be able to find a picture of it here.
Cool. All right, you do that. I'm gonna keep pulling up some questions.
Okay.
This is interesting. Terry Parker, ever tried using a Bunsen burner to create a sterile workspace? I don't. Do you mean like to sterilize tools and stuff like that? I'm assuming. Um,
I've used a little torch.
mhm.
I have not used the Bunsen burner. I've used a torch, and then I've started going into using induction sterilizers.
They're cool. I'm also a fan. Uh, all right, Joshua Maud, preferred tubs and tech. Um, I think the videos speak for themselves, but you do seem to be a shoebox dub tub kind of guy. Am I right?
Yes, I'm the tub guy.
Yeah. Also, just for people, I think a lot of people they start out with the 6-quart shoe boxes, and then they feel like they must move on from there as they grow as cultivators. But PGT is still using them. Yoshi uses 6 and 20 quarts all the time. For if you're not trying to grow a lot of mushrooms, but you're trying to, work some genetics and hunt for some new phenotypes and stuff like that, there's times when it makes absolute sense to use a smaller container, a tried and true tech like that.
Yeah, it's a lot less to deal with, and if you end up with contamination, then it won't be so bad
Yeah.
as losing something big.
All right. This is a cool question from IMP. Can you infinitely do grain to grain transfers? I am not going to live long enough to answer that question, but he's saying I've done 3 now from the original batch and wondered if I'll need to restart with liquid culture. Have you ever gone and just grain to grain endlessly?
No, I have not.
I have not either.
That's an interesting thing we can
Hmm.
always look into.
Now, I am a big proponent of um, growing in a quart jar and then inoculating. So one thing I don't like about grain spawn in bags is it for me, maybe I don't know what I'm doing yet, but it takes too long to colonize. Whereas if I sterilize 2 quarts of grain in a bag and I dump 1 quart from a quart jar of grain spawn, I mean it takes like I can blink and the rest of that bag is colonized. So I like to if my ultimate goal is to have like a 3-pound bag of spawn, I like to do 1 quart to 2 pound grain to grain that way. But I've never kept going. I'm like PGT. I'm trying to grow all the new stuff, and so I don't keep one thing going for too long. But I don't see why you. I mean, why don't you find out for us? I bet you can probably keep going quite a while.
I think you can. I just don't know how long, but you probably can. It seems pretty fascinating in how it can like replicate itself.
Yeah. All right. Here's a good one. Bigger Mush wants to know, PGT, how do you treat the substrate between flushes? Do you dunk, miss the tub, nothing?
I dunk them, so I try and get as much water into them as I
Mm-hmm.
can. Mushrooms are like 90% water, so
Yeah.
I figured the more water, the more mushrooms I'll get.
Yep. All
So
right.
after I dunk them, I just kind of let them go, and if things start to get dry, then I'll miss. But most of the time, I let them go, and they do pretty well for the next
Yeah.
flushes.
All right. I think we got to go back to that original question. I'm assuming this is from one of your people.
Yes, this is one of my Patreon supporters here.
Very cool.
They sent this to me. I was flabbergasted when I first saw it because I was not expecting anything like this to ever like arrive at my door, and I'm like, wow, this is so
Now,
cool.
now, when you sat for this photograph, no, I'm kidding. There you go, guys. This is what he looks like in real life. A real, authentic. Now, he didn't put the mushroom on top. Why not? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, maybe this is from a time when PGT didn't have mushrooms on his mind yet.
Yes. Okay. That could be an early photo from the early years. All right. Here's a good question. Temple of Shrooms. How do you get consistent ape grows? Is there anything you're doing specifically? You definitely seem to have some really packed tubs. Or do you find that it's hit or miss with that strain?
It's hit or miss, really.
Okay.
I've had tubs that are just embarrassingly throwing out fruits in here, and I had mutated tubs come out as well. And yeah, it's not always like that, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
these are my best,
Right.
apes.
Yep. You take pictures of your favorite children. That's just how it is. All right. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. Seeking something. What's the biggest non-psychedelic realization you both have had from the mushroom as a whole, whether it be community, science, worldview, the way people interact, basically? I don't know what you mean by non-psychedelic realization.
Yeah, I would kind of assume it's the other way around, right?
Yeah, I don't know about you. For me, it just always makes me appreciate, whether it's appreciating things more in the moment of the experience or afterwards. It just seems to make me more connected, like more, have more gratitude, more appreciation. I think that would, if I had to sum it up very briefly, it would be that.
I would agree. I can't think of any better words than what you just said.
All right, let's see here. Oh, here's a good one. Mike Smith. There's only one Mike Smith in the entire United States, so we know who you are, Mike Smith. Does PGT have any projects that are turning out to be more difficult than he expected? That's a good question. Like things that
Depends
maybe
on.
you thought you were going to do a video on, but the project was just more complicated than you thought it was going to be.
There are stuff like that. I have a lot of backlog of
Mm-hmm.
videos that I've or footage I've gone through. I just kind of need the time to kind of sit down and filter through all the
Right.
footage and kind of decide what I want to make with it. I would say right now pan signs are kind of what I'm trying to crack at
Yeah.
here. And another thing I've found with them is they take forever to colonize grains. And
Oh, do they?
yeah, my experience.
Yeah, I've only ever had them on plate, but on plates, but
I've had them
Yeah, they're
stalled out
slow.
on me a couple of
They're
times, and
slower.
I just had to scrap it, and I just had to start over again,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest failure for me is just having to start over again. But
Mm.
I just keep trying.
Um, all right, I'm just gonna just to pump our international viewers here. Hori Size, um, greetings from Bangkok. Great show as always. Thanks for watching. It's definitely cool to see the spores being spread far and wide. Beyond the United States or England or wherever. Um, so
Yeah,
thank you for watching. I don't know
totally
what
love when
time
there's
it is
people
there.
tuning in from all over the world.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see if it's
I
10:50
believe they're like
p.m.
12 hours, like
Yeah, they're like 11 or
across
12
from us.
hours. Yep, so it's morning there. Um, let's see here. Oh, all right, my buddy Royce. This is a nice guy. I mean, if you guys ever get the pleasure of meeting this guy, this is everything you want a Myco community member to be. He's just generous, kind, positive. This is a good dude. He wants to know what's your favorite agar.
Favorite agar, like in terms of recipe?
I would assume, yeah. Like, do you have a go-to recipe or?
My experience, I've tested out with some stuff. I've tested out sorghum. I've tested out the potato flakes. I've tested out
Mhm.
malt extract. They all seem to do well. It's just depending on what your myceliums are kind of adapted to in terms of nutrients on how well they do on that.
Right.
So oftentimes now I kind of defaulted to malt extract
Hmm.
um, because I just find it a little bit more easier to prep.
Yeah. Good question. All right, and then I'll pull this one, but I think we answered this one. So when you're rehydrating a tub, are you utterly covering the cake in water and then dumping it out later, or are you sort of like bottom sipping the water in there and letting it absorb it, but not like covering the cake?
So depending on what I'm doing, if I'm in the dub tub shoeboxes, I would put another shoebox on top of it, and I put something weighted down to kind of keep the cake down to submerge it underneath the
Okay,
water. And then afterwards, I would just use that same tub on top to just kind of hold the cake in place and just dump it out. In terms of
gotcha.
anything bigger, I would just kind of pour the water directly on top and just let the cake absorb it through the top and the sides.
Hmm.
Liners, I'd kind of pull them down on the sides to make sure to kind of get absorptions through the sides. And then after
Okay.
that, take a shoebox lid and I put it on top of the cake. And that allows me to hold that cake in
Oh, that's a good
place
idea.
as you're draining it so that that cake doesn't crumble and fall apart onto you. So you're kind of holding the cake as
Right.
like a platter. So,
It's, it's not the cake you're gonna eat yet. All right.
but that's what I find over time that has helped me to keep things clean and tidy when I'm kind of going through that. Because sometimes when you're going through your flushes, it can get messy.
Hmm. All right, I'm going to pull this one up just because I think this happens to a lot of newbies. It's easy. You get into this, you're ready to do your first grow. You've seen a lot of photos on Instagram or Facebook, and you see these gorgeous, even canopies. And then your first tub, because of various factors, you might have two fruits. The veils break. They're basically ready to harvest. They're about to dump a crap ton of spores on everything. And then you have a bunch of other things that are not ready yet. Um, do you have an approach for handling tubs like that? As far as when to harvest, how to harvest, do you harvest everything all at the same time, or do you sort of harvest them as they mature?
I like to get them all at the same time.
Hmm.
And if I notice anything that happens to mature earlier than the rest, I would kind of pick those out individually, or I would just, chop the cap off of them so they don't drop spores.
Yeah, I never saw that just chopping the cap off technique. I think I like that. I'm gonna try that one.
Yeah, and then I just kind of wait until they all kind of get ready, and I just get them
Yep.
all at once.
Yeah, I'm never concerned with the weight of the fruit. So a lot of people have told me, and this has been my experience that even if it's not fully mature yet, there's plenty of good stuff in there. Even if it's not fully mature.
Oh
Okay, this is a
yes, for sure.
good question. Overjoyed, me too. How much LC do you use with UB Tech? I can't seem to find the sweet spot.
Uh, you really don't need a whole lot to get started. I find you can get started with just 1 milliliter.
Okay. All right, there you go.
As long as you
Overjoyed.
have like a little bit of it in there, it will start to colonize and it will start to replicate. And I mean, the more you can shoot in, the faster it'll grow. But also, you're kind of risking messing up the conditions by providing more
Yes,
moisture than intended into your stuff.
100%. Yeah, I
So a little bit goes a long way.
yes, a little squirt here and there. If you're doing so if I'm doing quart jars, I just do the tiniest little squirt on all four edges so I can kind of watch it trickle down, and I'm trying to squirt just enough so that it does trickle all the way down through the jar, but that I don't want it to start pooling at the bottom. But yeah, you just got to keep playing around with it to figure out how much that is. All right, I'm trying to understand this question. Oh, okay, here we go. I got a good one. This is a good personal question. Favorite lab tunes?
Favorite lab tunes?
What kind of music you like to listen to?
All types of music. I use Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like over 800 like songs on my Spotify, and what I do is
So
I
you
kind of just shuffle through it as I'm just you know in there.
nice.
But I guess to kind of be a little bit more specific, to go into it, I kind of like stuff like lo-fi, hip hop. I've listened
Mm-hmm.
to um, K-pop. I listen to rap music. I guess the only thing I'm not into so much is I guess like jazz or anything like kind of very niche. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
My
So
taste is kind of all over the place.
no like Celtic folk music for you?
No,
Okay,
but I do have a buddy that's into that kind of stuff, and he like sends me like bard versions of songs all the time,
of
and I'm like,
course, of course. Let me see here. All right, we did that one. All right, here we go. Next, Skyrim. What's your suggestion for facing my phobia within the community? I'm assuming that means like a fear of mushrooms. I have not encountered that word, but let's assume that's what it means. Like, are you ever talking with people who just seem to hate them, and like, what is your approach?
hmm, people that don't like mushrooms.
Yeah, like I mean, for example, like some old fart that grew up during the 60s and thinks everybody that takes acid is gonna go have a psychotic break, and just people that have a very negative perception of it. My hunch is he's trying to be an advocate for the benefits of it and maybe encountering some people who are not. My advice would be just start sending those people some of the studies that are coming out, or tell them and I mean, utterly moving anecdotal stories weekly, if not almost daily sometimes, of the way that even just a single trip has changed somebody's life for the better. I would probably start telling people those kind of stories.
Yeah, it just depends on how open-minded those people are towards
Yeah,
receiving you trying to help provide them with some more
yeah,
knowledge and awareness towards the situation. But ultimately, it's up to them whether they decide to accept
right.
that or not, and take your suggestions and check it out, be open-minded, and see what it has to offer. But some people can be closed-minded, and whatever you try and do, you might not be
Yeah,
able to change their way, change
and
their minds.
if that mind is closed, you're wasting your time. That's like
Yeah, and at
hanging
that
out
point,
on
I
Facebook
would
arguing with
not
people.
gravitate with that negativity. I would
Yeah.
try and find some positivity to gravitate yourself towards too.
All right, my buddy. I just pop him up here. I'm going to have this guy on the podcast coming up here. But he just wanted to say, hey, listening while I'm harvesting and pouring plates. Thanks for the insights. I think my babies like the convo too. I hope so. That Good Fun Guy last week mentioned where he really thought that your attitude and energy that you're giving off when you're working with the mushrooms has an effect. So I hope that's true. And I hope we have helped make your mushies feel safe and loved tonight.
Yes, yes, you appreciate them and they appreciate you back.
All right, here we go. All right, here's a good one. Christian Herndon wants to know, ever have any issues with no prep millet? I don't know if you've ever run it. You can tell us. I found my results can be inconsistent even with the same proportions are used. I'm running 1,125 grams of millet to 500 grams water, going for dry grain for LC. Do you ever do no prep?
I do.
And how are his ratios looking to you?
About
They're looking
fine.
pretty close for
Yeah,
me.
pretty
Yeah,
close for me.
Mhm.
I do about 1,000 and like 15, 1,020 to 500 grams of water.
Yeah.
And I let them run, depending on jars or bags, 90 minutes or 2.5 hours. They've been pretty good. The part is, having to shake them when they're hot is kind of like a little bit key to getting them to do well. If you kind of made them, you kind of let them sit there until they cool,
Yeah,
and they
they
kind of
get a little
absorb
mushy on the
water.
bottom.
Yeah, they get mushy on the bottom. The top gets dry, and you get inconsistent results because of that.
Yeah. Now, I also found that I freaked out because I would have some contaminate on me. So then I was running them 3 hours. I was PCing them for 3 hours, and I think I was like drying them out a touch doing that. So I dialed back on that. But yeah, I always tell people for the no prep, because you could run a certain batch of grain and then go to the feed store, buy another batch of grain. That grain might just be slightly different shape. It might be taking water a little bit differently. So when you get a big 50-pound bag of grain, you might have to do a run the first time. I would always err on the side of a little wet. Then you can always kind of dial that back for that batch. But sometimes you got to fart around with it and just figure it out.
Yeah,
you're never gonna like dial it in, right? It's never gonna be one number, because like I was saying, that one number you hit for one batch of grain might be different 2 bags down the road. It might have to tweak it. You just gotta be ready to do that. All right, I'll pull this one up real quick. One Love. I heard you mention using an Instapot earlier. Was under the impression they didn't reach high enough pressure. I think they're like 12 or 13 psi. Do you just extend the cook time? Is that what you're doing to?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. I extend the cook time for them. So it's because they don't get up to 15 psi, you kind of have to keep them in there longer to reach a little bit more sterilization.
Yeah. Scrolling. All right, here's a good one. I think this goes along with something that Wumbo Michael brought up, liking to add straw to his CV. So Tom H asks, wondering if anyone has tried wood added in their substrate and if cubes would actually utilize it or not. I have no clue about that.
Yeah, I don't think I have not tried it. I haven't heard of anyone trying it.
Yeah.
But I would imagine cubes could probably utilize it. Cubes are very sturdy, and they can come up in all sorts of unharsh like conditions, not fit for them. They're just so, you know, so used to everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if cubes can utilize it. I've seen a post a while back. Some people are able to grow cubes off of cigarette butts.
What?
Yeah, it's on the shroomery.
Let's see. Okay, now you just actually gave me a reason to get back on the shroomery. Let's see here. I don't want to miss anybody. I don't think so, but I'll ask you, Harris Babick, when you chop off the cap, do you find the stem still grows?
Yes, it does.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say no. Holy shit. Okay.
Depending
All right.
on if I don't know. I don't know exactly if it's as I've noticed from the cloning thing, it came from a cluster.
Uh-huh.
So as that cluster continued to
Oh,
grow, that
it
stem
would gain
did
mass.
get grower. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think we're getting there. All right, here's one seeking something. What's your experience and recommendations with trying to clean up cultures? Like if you get a dirty swab or dirty plate, what's your process for trying to clean that up?
Pretty much the same way, just making transfers, just watching what grows out, kind of observing, and when you see contamination or mycelium, you kind of want to grab them before they start to get out of control in there.
Right.
So if you notice contam, keep an eye out onto it and see where mycelium develops and grab, before
Yeah.
contam gets to it and make transfers out from that. But yeah, I haven't done anything special to really clean up because if you just do agar work, it's not too hard to clean up.
Yeah. Okay. Hunter sonification. Do you flip the cake after rehydrating for a second flush?
I don't, but I've heard people do it, and it sounds like a great idea to me. I just haven't tried it personally, but I when I hydrate them, they get kind of very soft, and me trying to flip them over sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't mess with it too much.
Now, yeah, I agree in tubs, that's hard to do without breaking the cake. I do it in bags. I so here's what I'll do. If I see literally nothing ever grow ever on the bottom, like no pin start, no primordia, no nothing, I will not flip it. It seems to know its orientation and want to stay that way. If, however, I've also gotten some, random little pin start or little mini fruits underneath the cake, I will sometimes try to flip it. And it's hit or miss. I don't know if it's a superior way of doing it or not, but it's something to do. It's fun. It is definitely cool if you flip the cake and then get a really nice flush from the bottom. But yeah, I don't tend to do it if I have 0 pins on the sides or the bottom because I pack my bags really well.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. All right. We'll talk about that another episode. Here we go. Another one from Seeking Something. I get a lot of anxiety when cleaning my cultures without a flow hood. Any broke boy sterility recommendations when contam starts? I mean, man, I'm going to answer this one real fast and just say, clean your shit. Gary Hefferly or Fresh from the Farm Fungi will just beat it over your head like that dude is cleaning all the time. I mean, you just got to keep your shit clean. But PGT, have you ever had like a big outbreak and you had to do something special to remediate it?
Pretty much just cleaning it. When I
Yeah.
was in the apartment, I had a lot of carpet,
Uh,
and yeah, when you're vacuuming, it kicks stuff up all
yeah.
around. I had pets going around, so I had a lot of contamination rates from that. So yeah, cleaning is definitely crucial, for
Yeah.
sure. I do a lot more cleaning now than I did before, and yes, use that still air box, man. That's the key right there.
Yeah. And
Um,
move slow.
you know, and just how I like to think of it is just pretend you're doing brain surgery. Like just try to be a little tip for stereotech is just try to be mindful of where your hand placement is and try not to get your hand over the exposed area when you're working with your agar.
Agreed. Yeah, I noticed that every once in a while, if I'm pouring agar and I don't go and really scrub my hands well beforehand, including my forearms, that maybe 1 out of 100 plates I'll get like a little yeast or a little staph growing in it. And I'm assuming that's just because one little time when I wasn't thinking and I moved my hand over it, one little piece of skin or something flaked into there, and yeah, that's clean it. I mean, that's, whether you're cleaning the air, you can buy a little $60 um, desktop HEPA filter and run that in the room that you're doing work in. Just any little thing that you do, any amount of cleaning you do definitely helps for sure.
Yep, I definitely recommend getting one of those room purifiers and having that, going in the area that you're going to be working in.
All right. I just got in trouble from John Stamos. He got mad. He says I never read his questions. I have nothing against you, John Stamos. Let me find your damn question. Here we go. I love you, John Stamos. Oh, yes. No, okay. So I just thought this would be better for another episode, but I'll pull it up. He says, Dr. Mike and I have been talking about using probiotics in liquid culture jars and agar plates. Have either of you tried that yet? That might be, man, I wish I could get my buddy Tim of Tip of the Cap to get on here and talk to me. He would probably have some opinions about that, but I have never used probiotics in that way whatsoever. I use the Dr. Mike's more or less as prescribed and enjoy it. Have you ever experimented with putting weird things in your liquid culture like bacteria?
I have not. I think it would be something great to kind of look into. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like you said, just use it as Dr. Mike has prescribed it,
Yeah.
and it's done well there.
Yeah,
I
the
would
thing.
imagine it could benefit because there's more nutrients in there,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know, you know,
Yeah, I don't
really
know
how much
enough
it can.
about the biology that's going on there, but I do know he always talks about that when you're spraying your grain, when you're using it in the beginning, the idea is you want the bacteria and the mycelium to kind of be growing at a similar rate in the beginning. So I don't know if you've ever had this happen, but if I sprayed too much of the MPG plus, I would get really heavy overlay. I'd have to like scrape the overlay off and start again. Um, but yeah, my concern with putting it in the liquid culture would be that the bacteria would maybe proliferate too rapidly. Now, I don't know if the bacteria he uses is aerobic or anaerobic, and maybe that would play into it. But um, I think John Stamos is just a little more advanced for us at this point. But keep talking with him. The thing I like about Dr. Mike is he seems like he wants to keep, figuring all this stuff out and do more testing. So
Yeah, I
I think,
definitely agree. More testing should be done on it,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yep. Yeah, I have I know you were saying you're going to talk about it down the road, but um yeah, I find like a lot of my albinos do really well with it, and then other non-albinos maybe they're benefiting, maybe they're not. Maybe the cake, the cake's definitely colonizing faster, but I don't know all the time if overall it's improving my yields. But man, for some of them, it's a slam dunk. I know a lot of people love to go on and on about how it's snake oil, but these people don't know what they're talking about. It's definitely there's something there. It's maybe not perfected, but I love to experiment and mess around with stuff, so I'm having fun using it.
yeah. I've noticed it hit or miss sometimes with it.
Hmm.
But when it hits, it's great. Like when you
Yeah,
find a genetic that really likes to it, they do really well. I've noticed. Some just don't seem to react much to it at all,
right.
but I don't find that to be bad in any case either.
Yeah, I've also on man, I forget who I was talking to about this, but I've seen some gourmet grows where holy Lord Jesus, it it was just clearly working out really well for some of the gourmets. So I I still think I think we know everything about cultivation, and yes, we can grow some mushrooms, but I think, there's plenty that we haven't figured out yet. And I like messing around with all that stuff.
I agree.
I know we're getting close to wrapping it up here, but let's do one more question from Mike Denver. Any strains that PGT likes for improving mental health? Do you find, I think this would kind of tie into a question I would ask you, which is, some people like to say a cube is a cube and it's all the same and it's just the dose. In your experience, do you feel that, like for example, apes definitely hit different, or pancyans are, definitely a different experience? What's your opinion about that?
Um, I would say I kind of agree with you. The cube is a cube, unless it's a PE, and
Mm-hmm.
I find they all can improve mental health. It just
Yeah.
it works differently for everybody. It's not a one size fit all,
Right.
and it might take a little bit of experimentation to kind of figure out what works for you and what doesn't.
Right.
And it's kind of what I've went through. I find for me, I personally like the stronger varieties, just because it has a more profound impact onto me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it might not be for everybody, and I always encourage microdose, and if it
Yeah.
works for you there, just stick with it. Why
Mm-hmm.
ruin something good?
Right.
You know.
And some people aren't ready, and cool, microdose for a couple years, and you never know where you're going to be at in 2 years. Might be ready for it. Um, oh yeah, somebody. Okay, so two people now want to have you talk about Paoli. What do you got to say?
Paoli.
Mm-hmm.
I received it from one of my friends
Mm-hmm.
in the Myco community, and I believe he told me they were like albino PS Hawaiians or something like that.
Okay.
And then I kind of looked into it a little bit, and I guess the creator of it, I haven't seen him around much anymore, but I think he mentioned something about it placing the psilocybin cup. So that's kind of what got me interested
Right.
in them, kind of like checking them out.
Cool. All right, man. Um, Well, not to be a downer, but Geeky is currently looking for a new job. There was a little shuffling that happened at the hospital, and so I'm now trying to relocate. So I have been doing a lot of interviews, and I have a little thing going on tomorrow morning. So I am, I think, at the little over the 2 hour mark here. We're going to conclude, and I want to thank Philly Golden Teacher for coming on. um, I, I I really love sitting down here, getting to know you more. I feel like I know you more than even I did yesterday. Um, and hopefully we can get you back on and continue the conversation. Um, is there any last things you want to say to the people watching, or anything coming up for us to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I was kind of reading through the chat a little bit. Yeah, thank you for Pleasure Tech guy pointing out it's pronounced Howley. Um, I,
Howley, yeah. Oh, sorry.
I wasn't aware of that, so thank you for that. Um, yeah, I appreciate everyone for coming out to hang out and check out PGT and learn more about me. I've been seeing a lot of positive comments out there, and just want you guys know I appreciate it. I am definitely in the works for getting more content out. Um, look out
We're
for
ready.
Pan Science Tech. I'm almost there. I just want to make
Nice.
sure I get it right before I
Hmm.
decide to share it. So just be a little bit more patient, and PGT will deliver.
Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And if you didn't make it this far, hopefully at a later date you get to catch it all and catch up and uh, learn what we all learned. And until next week, hope you guys enjoy your mushrooms, enjoy your friends and your family, and until next time.
Oh, one more thing I wanted
Yeah.
to kind of mention here. If you guys are interested in any more of my stuff, want to keep up to date with me, phillygoldenteacher.com.
Yep. I
is
think I put most of your stuff in the description, but let's double check it, and I will add any links and stuff like that you want. That way anybody watching can connect with you.
yep.
Yes.
Yes, I
Cool,
did
man.
put some resources out on my page if anyone's interested in checking those out.
Great. Cool, man. All right, guys. That was pulled from the archive, the one and only Philly Golden Teacher. That guy is fun. That guy is cool. Got to hang out with him at MycoFest. Great guy. Can't wait to do it again next year. Anyway, this is the time. Hang out with your family, reconcile, make peace. If you don't get along politically, I got an idea. Don't talk about politics. Just don't forget these people are your family. Just like in this Myco online world that we live in right now, things are rough, things are turbulent. People stabbing each other in the back, people not getting along. Let's just try to remember the good times, the back in the day when we got along, when we were trading spores. Make America trade spores again. You know what I mean? I mean, let's do it. All right, guys. Until next week, go grow some mushrooms.